Welcome, welcome, welcome to Bio Bootcamp. Today is Tuesday. This is episode 2. And we were talking about the introduction to omega 3s and the balance yesterday. And today we're going to really talk about how we got here with the balance of omega 6s and omega 3s. And one thing that I feel is if Gen X and baby boomers are always thinking, people are always thinking that something is for the older generations, but we're going to show you how omega 3s affect you straight through your entire life. And let's get started. And so my co-host that was here yesterday is here again with me today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring to the stage Stuart Tomc. Stuart, how are you, sir?
Nolen, I've never had a bad day in my life. It's so good to be back on Bio Bootcamp.
Hey, I'm glad to have you. And the thing is that I love what we're doing. I love the fact that we're giving people some science and then we're giving them just some logic behind it, right? I don't want to be too scientific, but I also just don't want to just talk about it and glaze over it. And having you on the show, literally you and I together, we give that full yin and yang of information from doing the research and breaking it down to layman's terms. And so I appreciate you for that, sir.
Oh, I'm so grateful to be your co-host. This is edumatainment. And let's face it, with everyone that has their own AI programs, I'm running multiple programs all the time. Everybody can and should fact check everything that everybody's saying. So I love what we're doing here on Bio Bootcamp. We're going to educate people. We're going to inspire people. And we want everyone to become their very, very best Omega man and Omega woman on a cellular level. And I think exploring in today's episode how we got here is going to help us understand how we can do something about it.
So, Stuart, how did we get here? Let's just go ahead and jump in and get started.
Okay, so if we can pull up the first slide, the very, very beginning, if you will, back before the Industrial Revolution, it's been predicted because we didn't have the blood spot test back in 1850, right, Nolen?
Right.
It's so, and we love logic on this show.
Right.
We didn't have a blood spot test to do at home in 1850, but it's been predicted that sort of from the early human hunter-gatherer from the garden, that there was a balance between omega-6 and omega-3. And if you missed the first show, just as a reminder, we call this omega hands. This is what we've learned from the top omega-3 scientists in the world. If my left fist is omega-6, it's essential my body doesn't make it, but it's largely pro-inflammatory. Omega-3, our bodies don't make it. It's essential. We have to get it from our diet, and it makes the largely anti-inflammatory signals. They're both critical. They're both important for inflammation. We want to resolve inflammation, but we want to be in balance. Anything greater than this, what we call 3-to-1, anything above 3-to-1, we call that the danger zone. Right. Anything above the danger zone is staying alive. Well, it's been predicted, look at this slide, that in 1850, that the ratio would have been 1-to-1.
Which is perfect. You can't get any more perfect than that. 1-to-1 is perfect. 3-to-1 is acceptable.
1-to-1, if you can just visualize this balance between pro-inflammatory omega-6 and anti-inflammatory omega-3. Now, Nolen, you fall off your bicycle. This is how one of my professors taught me this. You get this immune response. Ouch! The omega-6s produce the inflammatory signals. The omega-3s help to resolve the inflammation.
Right.
You need inflammation. If you cut yourself and you don't clot your blood, you can have a problem bleeding too much. So you need omega-6. Where I think the media is getting this wrong, and why I was so excited to be on your show, is if you turn on the news, have you noticed this lately? Anywhere on Instagram, all over social, they're blaming all of the omega-6 seed oils. Have you seen this, Nolen?
Yes, I have. Absolutely.
Every article, one after another. And I was just recently quoted. Gary Brecka was on Joe Rogan's show. And I used to be a big consultant in the nutrition space. And so I have a publicist. And they had me weigh in on the subject. Because everyone's trying to blame the seed oils. Well, I'm here to say that based on reality, that if you decreased all of the omega-6s in seed oils, that would not help you get back to a 1-to-1 ratio.
Right.
And I've just said, I can't believe that we are the only show that's saying this. I mean, I do want a little controversy to make this fun for viewers. You get online and you hear omega-6s are bad and omega-3s are good, and there couldn't be anything further from the truth. It's the balance, it's the biomarker in you, in the individual. Dietary recommendations are wrong. The government is just giving you generalizations. What you need is to test yourself. So when I look at what's happened, look at this slide. In 1960 is when it all started to change.
Okay.
Now, they started with seed oils in 1909, but do you know what happened in 1960? I only recently learned this from Colonel Dr. Michael Lewis, who's going to be a regular on Bio Bootcamp.
Yes.
We're going to introduce him lately. Listen to what he told me. I've never heard this before. Did you know that in 1960, the Farm Bill passed? I didn't know anything about the Farm Bill.
No, I'm from Chicago, just like you. So farm,
I know, so-
my thing, right?
So, I didn't know the Farm Bill passed. He said just with so much authority. You know, in 1960, the Farm Bill passed. I'm like, what does that mean, right? He's like, it was all big business farming, big corporate farming. And there was this huge emphasis on making all of these grains and seed oils. And if you look at the slide, we started to go above the safe zone into the danger zone in the 1960s.
Okay.
Now, the reason I wanted to take time for this episode, I want you to visually think about all of the preventative, degenerative, inflammatory-driven metabolic conditions that have gone up since 1960. As infectious disease has gone down,
Right.
and the metabolic conditions have just gone up, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, metabolic derangement, obesity, heart disease. These are metabolic conditions that are driven by inflammation. Look at the slide. By the time we reach the 1980s or 1990s, the average person in this country is testing not at 1-to-1, at 22-to-1.
Right.
What that means is every single one of your cells, they're working at a deficit. They're not optimized. You can get rid of all the omega-6s that you want. Have you heard lately they're telling everybody just to go eat beef tallow? You caught this, Nolen?
Yes, I have. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I want to be fair and critical and tough at the same time. I'm sorry, you're wrong. If you took everybody off of omega-6 seed oils and you gave everybody beef tallow, would that increase the omega-3s in your red blood cell, Nolen?
No.
Not at all. So what people are afraid to talk about is the fish issue. People don't like having what I call the fishy conversation, because the only way through diet that we can get back to balance to have a healthy inflammatory response and optimize cellular membranes, the only way you could do that with diet is to eat 300 to 400 pounds of cold water oily fish a year.
Right.
Can you see why people don't want to talk about that, Nolen?
Absolutely.
It's just not a fun conversation to have. And here at Bio Bootcamp, we're just going to tell you the truth. We've tested almost 1,000 people in Japan, where they eat on average 250 pounds of seafood per person per year. They're at 7-1. They still failed the test.
Right. Now they're better than the Americans of where, from a diet standpoint, you can see how that very strict diet, and I feel as if those countries that eat a lot of fish, they don't have a lot of chemicals in their food. They ban a lot of the stuff that we have in our food, but they were born to not eat Twinkies and ho-hos and donuts and all of those things. So the things that really become habit for us, that we now have to tear away from, that we now are like, oh my God, how do I go a couple of mornings without donuts and coffee? They grew up that way, and they're still not in balance. And the I would say the most impactful part is that when you hold those people up to high esteem and say, you know what, I wish I could just eat like them, and they still have not reached the balance pinnacle that you need to be at peak performance. Now you're just thinking it's all gone to hell. Like, what do I do now? Right.
And exactly. That's why it's so exciting that we finally have a biomarker to talk about on Bio Bootcamp.
Yes.
I want people to understand how profound this is. We finally have identified the target. And even people in Japan that eat 250 pounds on average of cold water oily fish are still not in balance, which proves that you probably cannot eat your way into balance. If you want optimal cellular structure and function and a healthy inflammatory response and a healthy immune response, you probably need to supplement now in a way that we never had to before, because omega-6s and omega-3s are ubiquitous in our diet. We're either eating them or we're not. And even if we're eating tons of fish like they are in Japan, they're still eating sesame seed oil, as an example, which is a source of omega-6. So that's why I wanted people to understand that we are at the precipice, we are at the edge of adding these numbers to the standard blood panel. Right now, in real time, Nolen, scientists have been analyzing this information. Consensus statements are being drawn. They've been working on this for a couple of decades now. And in the not so distant future, you're going to go to your doctor. She's going to test your LDL cholesterol, your HDL, and your triglycerides. We've all heard of those. Almost everyone listening to the show knows HDL, LDL, triglycerides.
Right.
The most important number is the ratio between omega-6 and omega-3 and what we call the omega-3 index. They are more predictive than LDL cholesterol, twice as predictive as LDL cholesterol. So if you're walking around, look at this slide, 40 to 1, 40 parts omega-6 to 1 part omega-3, and you're into sports. Let's say you're a mixed martial artist.
Okay.
And you're getting challenged all the time. You're going to have a hyperactive pro-inflammatory response to the insult. You're going to have a deficiency in omega-3 required to resolve the inflammation to help you get back to balance. Can you see, Nolen, where year after year after year of living out of balance creates a cellular environment for total disaster? And that if we don't fix this, it doesn't matter what we eat, how much we work out, or what our belief system is.
Now, for the people that are watching, if you want your own numbers, what we're going to do is we're going to take a small break to show you how you can test your own numbers. We're going to watch a small video. And then when we come back, we're going to show you why omega-3s is, I would say, very, very important, just to simplify it, why it's so important in every aspect of your
every stage of life, every
stage,
from cradle to grave.
from the cradle to the grave. We're going to show you why you need omega-3s as soon as we come back.
6.3 billion people are not getting enough omega-3s. Omega-3 is an essential fatty acid. We need to get our omega-3s from the food we eat, or by taking supplements with fish oil. Antioxidants ensure the omega-3s stay fresh and potent, so our body can absorb the nutrients, but not just any antioxidants will get the job done. Polyphenols are the game changer. Powerful micronutrients working in synergy with the omega-3s to slow down oxidation and optimize absorption in order to offer long-term health benefits to your body. The refining process will rid the fish oil of virtually all mercury and PCBs. Unfortunately, this process also washes out the natural polyphenols in the oil. This is why most modern omega-3 supplements have little effect in the body. Polyphenols from pre-harvest olives are the plant-based equivalent to the antioxidants naturally found in seafood. This is a fact often overlooked by the fish oil industry. It puts our Balance Oil Plus in a league of its own. Our synergistic formula brings the magic of polyphenols and omega-3s back together. This is a revolution in omega-3 supplements. Our supplement is actually closer to oily fish than fish oil. We've captured a true force of nature. All you have to do is put our product to the test, literally. The Zenzino Balance Test is at the heart of our balance concept. You take the test before you start using our Balance Oil Plus, and then again after 120 days. This way, you get to see for yourself if your essential fatty acid levels have been restored. And we get to prove that our supplements really work. Let's take the guesswork out of a healthier way of living. Find out if you're in the clear, or if it's time to act now to maintain normal physical and mental functions in your body. From the pioneers of test-based, personalized nutrition. Zenzino. Inspire change in life.
And we're back. So you can see exactly why it is so important for you to know your own numbers. But Stuart, you said when we come back, you're going to show us every aspect of life, every stage of life, why it's important to have omega-3s, or the effect that omega-3s have in every stage of our lives. Let's go.
You said something, though, Nolen, that was so brilliant. I just want to go back to this for a moment.
Wait, hold on. I just want to stop you there. Like, let's just marinate in you said something, Nolen, that was so brilliant.
It was actually so brilliant. About because my professor said the same thing, and I love seeing that this is landing. You said something about people that eat fish in general, coastal areas where people eat fish. I added the coastal area part, but you said fish eaters have different health outcomes.
Yes.
And so my teacher, who wrote Fish, Omega-3 and Human Health, William E. Land's second edition. The first one was written in 1985. He's the godfather of the omega-6-3 balance. I'm so lucky that he took me under his wing, and he taught me like a grandson. And he says in all of his lectures and in his book exactly what you said. He said people that live in coastal areas die differently.
Right.
No one lives forever. He was so prophetic. He said they die differently. Now, this is interesting. He said when you eat more fish, you tend to have more of a, they call it a hemorrhagic event, like you're asleep and you have a stroke and painless and you're gone. As opposed, right? You had an aha moment.
Right.
I saw that in your face. You had an aha moment. I remember when I first heard that. He's like, now if you're landlocked and you're eating a lot of steak, right, and a lot of grains, right?
It's a lot of suffering with that, right? But here it just sounds like God called you. You say, "Hello, is it time? I'm on my way," and you just float up to the heavens, right?
Now, one time I embarrassed myself enormously. I was on stage. I was telling this story, and I said, "Do you want to have a heart attack in the Toys R Us aisle when you're 42, right? When you have a whole bunch of young kids."
Right.
Or do you want to expire in your sleep when you're 99 with a head full of black hair, wearing the same pants you wore sophomore year of high school?
Right.
Nolen, I stopped myself mid-sentence and I said, well, maybe going out in Toys R Us is not that bad after.
Right.
So that's, again, being Omega Man. Let's not make a judgment about that, right? It's just he used to say people die differently if you have more omega-3 than omega-6. So this is the slide for the...
Before we get there, just one other thing. A lot of those things that we're talking about as we talk about fish eating society, if there's a documentary on Netflix called Blue Zones, and a lot of those places are the blue zones where people live over 100, and they're 90 years old in their garden. They're still working in the village, and that's one of their main sources of food.
And they get omega-3s in their diet. In fact, Nolen, my friends who you've now gotten to know, Michael and Diane, they're longevity researchers.
Right.
They've been to all 5 blue zones in 75 other countries where people live a long, healthy, vibrant life. We'll have them on Bio Bootcamp, and they'll show you pictures of all of the blue zones, and they analyze their diets.
Yep.
They were high in omega-3, low in omega-6.
Right. So your diet is everything to feed your cells, to feed your body, to give your body everything it needs, the nutrition and minerals for it to heal itself, for it to function properly, or even give you that peak performance. And so when you look at the blue zones in those people's diets, it's almost impossible for us to have those diets unless we farm our own, because they don't have all the chemicals. They don't have all the pesticides. They don't have all the things that we have in our foods to make it not as nutrient dense as we need it to be. And then our cells, with us being out of balance, can't absorb the nutrients that's in the food and the supplements that we're taking to supplement. And that's why I thought this was so profound that we did something like this. So as we talk about every stage of life and omega-3s are needed, let's start with the pregnancy.
Okay, this is such a huge moment in omega-3 history. April 11th of this year, look it up. The Office of Dietary Supplements finally recommended omega-3 for all women of childbearing age. All women of childbearing age. The federal government. April 11th. So when you are asking, people ask me all the time, why haven't I heard about this yet from my doctor? April 11th, which was just recently, the Office of Dietary Supplements made their first recommendation, omega-3 DHA between 250 milligrams and 1,000 milligrams for every woman of childbearing age. That's where it starts. So for maternal health and outcomes, it promotes maternal DHA status. So mom needs to be taking her balance, getting her cells in balance, and taking the right amount of omega-3s with the right antioxidants. We're going to get into this to promote high levels in her own body, because she gives away her omega-3 through breast milk. She gives away her omega-3 from her body to build a brain which is made out of fat.
Right.
Think of this, Nolen. Mom is giving away all of her omega-3. We're going to have some women doctors on the show that are experts in this. They'll do a deep dive. This is just a surface slide here. But mom gives away all of her omega-3 to build the eyes and the nervous system and the brain. And then we need to have enough omega-3 in mom to get it into breast milk so that you can continue to develop that brain, to support normal gestation periods, to promote fetal brain and eye development. There's a paper that came out that said gestational diabetes is now correlated to autism rates. The connection that we've never seen before. So mom needs to have ideal insulin sensitivity. What does that mean? She needs to be in balance when she's pregnant so that she can reduce the risk of gestational diabetes, which in turn may reduce the risk of autism. So I want everybody to see from conception, there's one paper that says by the third trimester, if mom has more omega-3, it's correlated to a higher IQ score in your infant, in your child. And then it also correlates to lower levels of postpartum depression, which we know is a big deal. In infants and children, it's a huge, because we call it mommy brain. Imagine having 2 or 3 kids and you're not eating 300 pounds of cold water, oily fish. You're not in balance. Your brain is on fire. Your central nervous system is on fire. And now we're kind of downloading all of that trauma into the next generation.
Right.
So infants and children, brain development, improves visual acuity, promotes cognitive performance. So from pregnancy to early, like they now recommend you go see the doctor, and she'll say, you need to be taking your omega-3s. They're finally getting this in there with the prenatal vitamins. What they're not doing, Nolen, is testing.
Right.
They're not testing. And then finally, for children and adults, cardiovascular health. My professor used to say, begin effective balancing of fatty acids before ... We need to start as young as possible. So it lowers triglycerides. That's a residual risk factor. It helps to increase good cholesterol. It improves blood vessel function. For athletes, when you can get a higher level of omega-3, it increases VO2 max. That's the master measurement of health and longevity. And then for adults, as we age, brain and eye and health function, less cognitive decline, inflammation ends up, right? They're calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes, a lower risk for dementia, lower risk of age-related macular degeneration. You start losing your vision as you get older because DHA is so critical in the photoreceptor of the eye. So I hope that gives people an idea from cradle to grave why we are so focused on this on Bio Bootcamp.
See, and I love that because a lot of times we feel as if the supplements that's needed is for older people because we're running out of whatever it is, right? It's not, we're not making it as much. We're not as vital as we used to be or whatever. And this is from a preventative standpoint, literally getting your children and your kids to perform better in just regular life. And it's linked to the nutrition that they're not getting, right? I wonder how many, and I'm just from Chicago, old school, Black dude, right? I wonder how many whoopings kids got just because they omega-3s was out of balance and they didn't know what to do with themselves and their mood was all messed up, right? And so that's one of those things that I also wonder about ADHD, right? If it has to do with brain function, and the development of the brain, how much more could you focus if you were in balance, right? And kids are eating all of this type of junk. And to show the linkage to omega-3s or your omega-6s and omega-3s being balanced, to show the linkage to each part of thought process on a cellular level, from a athletic performance to all of these things, to blue zones of living a longer, healthier life. Nobody wants to be 100 years old and decrepit. We're talking about blue zones. And if you watch the documentary, these guys are out here still shoveling in the garden at like 92 years old. They're not.
That's what we want. We want to be vibrant like that.
Exactly.
That's Omega Man.
And so I love you sharing this information so people can start to think, not only should I take it, but my kids should take it, right? Not only should I take it, but if my parents are older, I can see why they need to take it, right? Because it's not just about, I feel like we're always in the mindset of we need to take it after we lose it. And it's like, how do we get that back? And we're old and decrepit, or we need to take it to get to the bodybuilder, super athletic situation. How about we just need to take it and keep you in balance just to sustain a very vital lifestyle that's just vibrant. I hate to say a vibrant world for those that know, but to just live in that vibrant world of just not always peak performance, but just from mental, the spiritual, the physical, all of these things to be aligned and balanced. So I love it.
Well, thank you so much for also mentioning the spiritual part too, because it's hard to be of service to other people, right? My mission is to ease the suffering of others. If you're in chronic pain and inflammation and you're stressed out all the time and you're not sleeping, you're no good to anybody. So you got to be an Omega man, woman for yourself, right? Put on the oxygen mask. You need to get in balance so that you can help other people. That's how we're going to be superheroes in your gang. The Avengers with you.
So hey, here's the thing. Anything you want to say before we go?
No, that's it.
All right. Stuart, I want to thank you for episode 2. Love what we're doing here. I feel like we're educating people to live a better life, right? And it's all linked to literally one ingredient. So I look at life as everything that we take in is our ingredients as we create our recipe for success. And everybody's recipe is a little bit different, but this ingredient is needed in each and every person. So if you're watching this and you want more information, go to biobootcamplive.com, subscribe to our YouTube, which is Bio Bootcamp Live. Look for us everywhere. We're also on Roku, Amazon, and our show is playing in Austin and Houston really soon. Hey, I'm Nolen Davis. Until next time, love to live to love, and be well.